Moments ago, the FBI described the suspect in Nancy Guthrie's abduction as a male, 5'9" to 5'10" of average build.
Investigators have reportedly uncovered more images from her home camera captured before her disappearance. And tonight as well, the sheriff is raising real concerns that the kidnapper could potentially strike again.
The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie on February 1st, 2026, sent shockwaves through the country, sparking a frantic search and a wave of unanswered questions. Weeks later, investigators are still chasing every possible lead, examining locations, tips, and theories that could explain how the kidnappers managed to disappear without a trace. Among the more unsettling possibilities being discussed is whether an overlooked underground route, perhaps an old tunnel or concealed passage, could have played a role. If such a hidden path existed, it would raise a chilling question. What might authorities discover if they ever found it? Join us in this video as we unpack and reveal details about Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping, the night everything changed. When Nancy Guthrie suddenly vanished, the quiet neighborhood quickly turned into the center of a massive investigation. Local deputies, state officers, and federal agents all joined the search. The Pima County Sheriff's Department moved fast, sending out search and rescue teams across the area. Police dogs tracked possible scents, drones scanned rooftops and yards, and helicopters searched from above. Even U.S. Customs and Border Protection stepped in to help. Despite the scale of the effort, the search teams found nothing that clearly pointed to where Nancy had gone. Days passed, and the silence around the case only deepened the fear. On February 2nd, authorities made a major announcement. What had started as a missing person search was now officially being treated as a criminal investigation. Sheriff Chris Nanos revealed that investigators had discovered troubling evidence inside Nancy's home. According to him, the signs suggested that something violent may have happened inside the house. Because of that evidence, the residence was quickly sealed off and treated as an active crime scene. Homicide investigators were also called in to assist with the case. Sheriff Nanos spoke bluntly about what detectives believed may have happened. He explained that investigators did not think Nancy had simply walked away or left voluntarily. In fact, he said the evidence pointed strongly toward the possibility that she had been taken from her home against her will. Authorities believed the incident may have happened in the middle of the night, when the neighborhood was quiet and most people were asleep. Nanos even noted that Nancy's physical condition made it very unlikely that she could have wandered far on her own. She couldn't walk 50 yards by herself, he explained, emphasizing just how vulnerable she was. As the situation grew more serious, the Federal Bureau of Investigation joined the case. Their involvement brought additional resources, forensic support, and investigators experienced in complex abduction cases. Authorities described Nancy as a vulnerable adult because of her age and mobility challenges. She relied on daily medication and needed assistance with certain tasks. However, officials also made it clear that she had no cognitive problems and was mentally aware. That made the circumstances of her disappearance even more alarming. Investigators began carefully reviewing every piece of evidence they could find. Surveillance footage from nearby homes and businesses was collected and analyzed. Detectives examined digital data, neighborhood security cameras, and anything that might reveal unusual activity near Nancy's home. Officers went door to door in the area, speaking with neighbors and asking if anyone had seen or heard something strange that night. Then another disturbing detail emerged. Investigators confirmed that bloodstains had been found near the entrance of Nancy's home. Later, forensic tests showed that the DNA from that blood belonged to Nancy herself. News cameras at the scene appeared to capture images of what looked like a trail of blood close to the front door. Authorities refused to say how much blood was found or whether it suggested serious injury, but the discovery made the situation far more concerning. Other strange signs inside the home only added to the mystery. Personal belongings had been left behind, which suggested Nancy had not planned to go anywhere. Even more suspicious was the fact that the home's doorbell security camera had been removed. Investigators believed that whoever was involved may have taken it to prevent the camera from recording what happened. When detectives first stepped inside the residence, They reportedly described the scene as very concerning. The conditions inside did not match what officers usually see in cases where someone leaves voluntarily. Because of what they observed, the sheriff's department immediately treated the house as a crime scene and expanded the investigation. Homicide investigators worked alongside deputies as they processed the property and gathered forensic evidence. At times, search operations had to pause so investigators and rescue teams could rest, but the case itself never stopped moving forward. Authorities continued following leads and analyzing evidence while asking the public for help. Officials also reassured residents that, based on what they knew at the time, there was no sign that the general public was in danger. Meanwhile, the disappearance deeply affected Nancy's family. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, stepped away from her duties with NBC, where she had been scheduled to help host the opening ceremonies of the 2026 Winter Olympics. Instead, she focused on helping search for her mother and spreading awareness about the case. In a public statement, she thanked law enforcement officers and members of the community who had joined the effort. She also urged anyone who might have information about Nancy's whereabouts to come forward. As days turned into weeks, the mystery only grew deeper. By February 7th, investigators had still not announced any suspects or arrests. Nancy Guthrie remained missing, and the investigation was still active. Even by early March 2026, authorities had not located her. Behind the scenes, detectives continued following every possible lead, hoping that somewhere within the evidence was the clue that could finally reveal what truly happened that night. But before all this, who was the woman in question, and where did it all begin? Keep watching to find out. The woman at the center of the mystery. Before the investigation, the search teams, and the shocking discoveries, there was Nancy Ellen Long, a woman whose life had been deeply connected to the Tucson community for decades. Nancy was born on January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky, in the United States. Years later, in the early 1970s, she moved with her family to the Tucson area, where she would make her home for more than 50 years. Over time, Nancy built a quiet but meaningful life there. She married Charles Guthrie, and together they raised a family. But tragedy struck the family in 1988 when Charles died at just 49 years old while on a mining exploration trip in Mexico. After his death, Nancy continued raising their children and remained a strong presence in their lives. She has 3 children, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, all of whom remained close to her even as they grew older and built lives of their own. Family members often described Nancy as mentally sharp, thoughtful, and fiercely independent. Despite her age, she preferred to live on her own in her home in the Catalina foothills, a quiet area just outside Tucson, known for its peaceful neighborhoods and beautiful desert views. By 2026, Nancy was 84 years old. While her mind remained clear and active, her physical health required extra care. She had limited mobility and depended on daily medication to manage a chronic medical condition. Because of this, those close to her knew she rarely moved around without preparation or assistance. Still, she stayed involved in her community and kept a routine. One of the most important parts of her life was her church, where she was known as a dedicated and faithful member. She rarely missed services and often joined church activities online. The last confirmed sighting of Nancy was on the evening of Saturday, January 31, 2026. That night appeared completely ordinary. At around 9:50 p.m., her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, dropped her off at her home in the Catalina foothills. Cioni, who is married to Nancy's daughter Annie, later told investigators that everything seemed normal when he left. According to authorities, he became the last known person to see Nancy alive that night. Nothing about the evening suggested anything unusual was about to happen. But the next morning, something felt wrong. Nancy was expected to appear for a scheduled live stream of her church service. It was something she rarely missed, and members of the church community quickly noticed her absence. When she didn't show up as expected, concern began to grow. One church member decided to contact Nancy's family to check if everything was all right. That phone call would mark the beginning of a terrifying mystery. Relatives quickly went to Nancy's home around 11 a.m. to check on her. At first, they hoped there was a simple explanation. Maybe she was resting or had stepped outside briefly. But when they searched the house and the surrounding property, they could not find her anywhere. There was no sign of Nancy. Even more unsettling, many of her personal belongings were still inside the house. Her phone, along with other essential items she normally kept close, had been left behind. For someone who depended on medication and had difficulty moving long distances, leaving without those things made very little sense. By around noon, the family realized something was seriously wrong. They called 911 and reported Nancy missing to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Deputies quickly responded to the home and began examining the situation. Almost immediately, investigators noticed details that raised red flags. Nancy's limited mobility meant she could not easily walk far on her own, especially without assistance. Yet there was no clear sign she had prepared to leave the house or that she had gone somewhere willingly. Because of those unusual circumstances, investigators did not treat the case like a typical missing person report. Instead, they began considering the possibility that something far more serious had taken place. As detectives worked to piece together the events of that night, authorities began building a detailed timeline of Nancy's final known movements. During a press conference on Thursday, February 5, 2026, investigators publicly shared that timeline, hoping it might help the public understand the sequence of events leading up to her disappearance. Every minute of that timeline could hold an important clue, and as investigators looked closer at the details of that night, the story of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance only became more disturbing. So, how did the appearance of ransom messages change the direction of the case? Let's find out. The ransom messages that raised more questions. Roughly 24 hours after Nancy Guthrie was reported missing, the case took another unexpected turn. What had already been a worrying disappearance suddenly began to look even more complicated. Authorities revealed they were investigating what appeared to be possible ransom messages sent to several television stations. Among them was the ABC affiliate in Tucson. The messages claimed to come from someone who said they had taken Nancy. According to reports, one local station received a message that directly claimed responsibility for the alleged kidnapping. The note demanded millions of dollars in Bitcoin in exchange for Nancy's safe return. It wasn't a vague message or a simple threat. The wording was structured and deliberate, almost as if someone had carefully planned every sentence. Soon after, other media outlets began reporting that they had received similar communications. Each message followed the same pattern. They included specific deadlines and instructions. They also warned that law enforcement should not be involved, but there was a major problem. None of the messages included proof that Nancy was actually alive. Investigators quickly reviewed the notes to determine whether they were genuine or simply an attempt to manipulate the situation. Nancy's family also became aware of the messages circulating through the media. While they acknowledged hearing about them, they made one thing clear: they needed direct proof of life before anything else. The family publicly asked for something undeniable: a photograph, a video, anything that clearly showed Nancy was alive and safe. Without that, the ransom demands meant very little. As the deadlines mentioned in the messages slowly passed, nothing happened. There was no confirmed follow-up message, no release, and no proof that the person behind the notes actually had Nancy. The silence only deepened the uncertainty surrounding the case. Authorities also remained cautious in their public statements. Investigators did not confirm whether the ransom messages were authentic. They also refused to say whether there had been any direct communication between the family and a potential suspect. The existence of ransom letters raised the possibility of a motive: money. But without evidence that Nancy was alive, the messages also created serious doubts. Some investigators quietly wondered if someone was trying to take advantage of a high-profile disappearance. Were these real demands from a kidnapper, or were they simply cruel attempts to exploit a tragic situation already capturing national attention? The lack of clear answers placed even more pressure on the investigation. As these reports spread, Nancy's children decided to speak publicly. Savannah Guthrie and her siblings recorded a video message addressed directly to whoever might be holding their mother. In the first video, Savannah stood beside her siblings and read from a sheet of paper. Her voice was calm but strained, as if she were carefully choosing every word. She asked for proof of life and explained why it mattered. With modern technology, she said, voices and images could easily be manipulated or faked. The family needed something clear and undeniable that Nancy was truly alive. Savannah said they were willing to talk, but they needed certainty first. The message was careful and measured. A few days later, another video appeared. This time, the tone felt slightly different. The video was shorter and less formal. Savannah spoke without reading from a script. She said the family had received a message and understood it. Then, she made a direct request to the person responsible. "Please, return our mother." Her words were simple but powerful. Some observers believed the change in tone suggested that some form of communication might have taken place behind the scenes. At one point, Savannah even confirmed publicly that the family was willing to pay to bring their mother home. That statement was significant. It showed just how serious and urgent the situation had become. Each video seemed to reflect a new stage in the family's emotional journey, moving from a careful demand for proof of life to an open willingness to meet the kidnappers' terms. But the story did not end there. As the investigation entered its second and third weeks, Savannah released another video message. This one looked different from the previous ones. She stood alone, without her siblings beside her. There was no visible script in her hands. Her message was simple. "It's never too late to do the right thing," she said. She repeated the phrase again. This time, there was no mention of money, no deadlines, and no demands. Instead, Savannah spoke directly to the person who might know where her mother was. She appealed to their conscience rather than negotiating with them. She said her family still believed in hope. "We still have hope," she said. "We still believe that whoever has her or knows where she is, it's never too late. You're not lost or alone. It is never too late to do the right thing, and we are here." She explained that their family believed in the essential goodness in every human being. The message felt deeply personal rather than dramatic. It sounded like a daughter reaching out to someone she hoped still had a conscience. The shift in tone suggested something important may have changed. Either communication had stopped completely, or the family had decided to try a different approach. Whatever the reason, the public saw a daughter refusing to give up hope while living with a painful level of uncertainty. Meanwhile, time continued to pass. Deadlines mentioned in the ransom messages expired. No verified response came back. There were no confirmed contacts, no new messages, and no clear answers. Just statements, public appeals, and long periods of silence. With each new video, the family's approach seemed to narrow. The negotiation language slowly disappeared, replaced by something simpler, a direct plea for someone to do the right thing. Hope remained visible, even as the mystery grew deeper and the weight of uncertainty became harder to carry with every passing day. While Nancy's family spoke to the public, investigators were quietly working behind the scenes, following thousands of tips and leads that might finally reveal the truth. As deadlines passed with silence, could the kidnapper strike again? Stay tuned to find out. The threat that still looms. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has warned that the suspect in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance could strike again. In an interview with NBC News, Nanos stressed that while investigators believe the kidnapping was targeted, it would be unwise to tell the public not to be concerned. "We believe we know why he did this, and we believe that it was targeted," Nanos said. "But we can't. We're not 100% sure of that. So it would be silly to tell people, 'Yeah, don't worry about it. You're not his target.'" When asked about a possible motive, Nanos intentionally withheld details, citing the need to preserve the integrity of the investigation. "I think from day one, we had strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished," he added. Investigators have been asking neighbors about internet disruptions on the night Nancy disappeared, exploring the possibility that a Wi-Fi jammer may have been used to interfere with devices in her home. The sheriff also shared that DNA evidence recovered inside Nancy's residence could be key. The samples, which do not belong to Nancy or anyone in her close circle, may lead law enforcement directly to the suspect. However, processing this evidence has been challenging. Investigators have noted that the DNA is mixed and could contain material from multiple individuals, making it harder to identify a single source. The department has indicated that investigative genetic genealogy could be a critical tool in tracing the suspect. Despite the hurdles, Nanos remained cautiously hopeful that the evidence would eventually provide answers. With the investigation ongoing, law enforcement continues to follow leads, analyze evidence, and reach out to the public for assistance. Yet the threat of the unknown still lingers, and the community remains on alert, hoping for answers and the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. What do you think about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance? Let us know in the comment section below. Outro. The story of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance shows just how complex and chilling real-life investigations can be. From the search efforts to ransom messages, DNA leads, and the FBI uncovering hidden clues, the case continues to unfold in ways no one could have imagined. If this story captivated you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for the next video to follow the latest developments and uncover more twists in this intense investigation.